If you're considering adopting a more whole food, plant-based diet, today I've got a great interview for you, and it's with my mom, Sue Ligori, and she's going to share with you how she started her plant-based journey, what some of the trials and tribulations are along the way, and what the results have been for her and how she likes it, so that you can get some perspective on what it's like and decide if you want to jump in and give it a try too. Okay, so first off, Mom, how did you first come to think about adopting a whole food, plant-based diet?
Well, who would have thought, but when I was 66 years old, I ended up with a heart problem and had to have a stent put in. And I always thought that I had eaten pretty well. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise. But I went to the doctor after my stent was put in, and the doctor said, just live your life, enjoy, it's hereditary. There's not a lot you can do about it. You're fit enough. And I went home, and that bothered me tremendously because it didn't feel like I had any control over my future. Mm-hmm. So I started looking online, and as I was looking, I came across Dr. Greger's How Not to Die, and the title was kind of interesting and awful all at the same time. And I decided to order it, and it's been terrific. It's basically changed my life. So.
What were the symptoms? Because I think that you did a really smart thing when you had the issue with your heart that a lot of people could learn from. What was the process that you came to discover that you needed a stent? What was going on, and what were the steps that led up to the stent?
I had symptoms of being tired and just feeling things that I would normally do, like run up the stairs, all of a sudden, maybe for a couple months, was so hard. It felt like I had to take a nap every time I did anything. Mm-hmm. And so I went and had a physical, which I do every year anyway, and nothing showed up. So I went home, everything was fine with my tests. And then, a week went by, and things just didn't feel right. So thankfully, my doctor listened to me, because I asked him I just said, there still feels like there's something not right. And he immediately had me go into a specialist, and the specialist again did a stress test and didn't find a whole lot, but he said, maybe we better check further. And so I was scheduled for a angiogram, and lo and behold, I had a very big blockage, and they fixed it right on the spot. So, but the symptoms didn't really go on for a long time, but they were pretty profound when they did come. I just didn't feel right.
I think there are a couple of really big lessons in that. One, you trusted your instincts that something was wrong, even though the test showed everything was okay. And, of course, like you said, you had the benefit of a doctor who really listened and responded right. with alacrity, or alacrity is the wrong word, but was quick to listen and respond and take it seriously. But because I think it's so easy to dismiss, especially with heart things, that it's probably okay, I'm so thankful that you didn't do that, and want to make sure that if anyone else out there has a similar thing, that they really listen to their body and err on the side of caution. Let's jump back into the Dr. Greger book that you got. Did you get the book, or did you get the audio book?
Well, I started with the book, and it was pretty intimidating, so I ended up getting the Audible book. And Dr. Greger is so entertaining and so vibrant that it was fun to listen to him, just to see what he was going to say next. So I really did enjoy it, and it went chapter by chapter, all the different things that you can improve through diet. And I loved especially that his approach isn't one of feeling deprived. It's more, you got to get this stuff in because there's food out there that's like medicine. And so that was really exciting to me. So it was like an adventure to be able to try to do it. And I've actually had fun. And a little side note to that is that it's really nice because it does no harm to eat this way. So.
And I want to just stop and grab the book and show everybody the book really fast.
Yeah.
So I got it hiding here underneath my chair. So this is the book, and the reason it was intimidating, I think, is, I don't know if you can see how thick that is. And it's really dense, not just with information, but with all the references, because his approach is all about what does the evidence say. So he's not advocating a paleo diet or a vegan diet necessarily, or a carb Atkins diet. What he's advocating is look at the research, understand the research, and follow the research. So let it be objective. Know where studies are coming from, if they might be biased, if they're sponsored by the egg industry, for example, and they're telling you eggs are healthy. Because they could do 10 studies and not publish the 9 that aren't favorable and then publish the one that is. So evidence, evidence, evidence. And so this book has tons of evidence in it. So I think the thing about the audio recordings is it's a lot more entertaining and less dry. Right. But this is a really great manual and resource, especially to check out and go right directly to the source with the references.
And also he has the website, nutritionfacts.org, and he talks on all kinds of subjects, and they're just little short tidbits, maybe 2 to 5 minutes long, that that are fun. Again, he makes it fun. So
yeah, he's got tons of personality. It's really interesting, and I think actually everything in the book is probably also in those. I mean, by the time you compile all the little snippets on different subjects he has on the website, you've probably got everything that's in this book, plus more, because every week they're publishing new studies from meta-analysis, meaning they look at all the research and then draw conclusions about whether marijuana is harmful, whether, let's see, what do you call that when you have a breast x-ray?
Mammograms.
Whether mammograms actually improve outcomes. So there's really interesting stuff on there, and you could Google any topic. And it's all not for profit. It's just a labor of love Dr. Greger and his team do on that website. So.
Right.
Okay, so I am going to skip back forward in time. So you started to listen to this book, and then at what point did you say, oh, I'm going to start adopting some of the principles? And what were they?
Well, almost immediately. And the principles are, well, the first most important thing is staying away from meat and dairy, and heavy, oily, fatty things, but mostly one of the reasons I had always thought you had to have meat and you had to have milk was because of the nutritional benefit, meaning protein and calcium and all those things. And actually the research that's been done kind of indicates to me that you don't need those things. So that made it like a surefire thing. Let's go, because we don't need that stuff, which had always been the thing that would hold me back before if somebody said, let's do a plant-based diet. But I see now that those are not things that need to be worried about. Mm-hmm. I had a whole exciting opportunity to try to create my own future, not taking medications for the rest of my life, which it was kind of looking like I would have to do. And so that was really exciting. And I had a lot of support from my husband and friends and family. And so that's how I started. I mean, it was right away.
What were the first things you did after reading the book? Did you adopt 100% of the things that he talked about, or what were the steps that you took to start adopting more, adding more plants to your diet?
Well, pretty much I stopped all dairy and meat, but I had kind of cut out some things maybe a year or two prior to that because of ethical things that I felt were going on, unethical things that was going on in the meat and dairy industry, but not to the extent. I still had that belief that I needed to have the protein and I needed to have the calcium. So, gosh, I guess we have to just sort of overlook that. So once I realized that those things weren't good for me, then it was like a win-win for everybody, really. So I just kind of dove right in.
So you had previously thought that you needed to have both dairy and meat in order to get your calcium and your protein needs met every day. What changed for you? What did you learn, and why did that change after reading the book?
Well, in the book, Dr. Greger talks about how it's a little bit of a misconception that we need so much protein and calcium. Not that we don't need them, but we don't need them from dairy and from meat, and we also don't need the percentage that has been thought that we needed for quite some time. So having that out of the way, the concern about getting enough nutritional value was like, well, why would you not change?
One thing I thought was really interesting was the study that showed the countries with the most dairy consumption, cow milk consumption, actually have the highest risk of osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Which, if milk it does a body good was true, would be the reverse, right?
Right.
So that was really shocking. And then same with the protein. I guess there's more protein per calorie in broccoli than in a steak. So there is protein in vegetables as well. So that was kind of a big surprise and big aha to me too.
Right.
Plus, plant food has fiber and doesn't have cholesterol. So
right.
Bonus.
Yeah, and if you look at studies of different populations around the world, when they start adopting the Western diet, their health gets worse instead of better. So the concept that, starving children need more milk and they need more meat and so forth, actually, over time has not proven to be scientifically accurate at all.
Yeah, I think the China study talks about that, right? How we went into impoverished countries thinking that we were helping and introduced animal protein, and actually introduced more disease into those countries. So opposite of what we were trying to accomplish.
Right.
I was listening to something on YouTube, and I'm going to link to that talk because I think it's just amazing. It's about this book called The Cheese Trap. And he talks about how cow milk is the perfect food for a baby cow. It's designed for a baby cow that has to put on 200 pounds in its first year of life. Is the perfect serum, the perfect growth food for a baby cow, not for a baby human. So human breast milk is perfect for a baby human, cow milk for a baby cow. And I think we're the only species that drinks other species' milk, which when you step back and think about it is kind of strange. And then there's also hormones that are given to the cows to keep them lactating, and then we're ingesting those, and it's causing a lot of crazy things like young girls menstruating more early and things because they're getting these huge doses of cow hormones.
Right.
Even in the organic too, there's a lot of you're drinking a cow growth serum. So as you started to adopt the whole food plant-based diet, what were some of the challenges that you experienced early on? What were some of the things that you learned? Tell me about the early days and what it was like.
Well, in the early days, it was hard to figure out what to eat if we went out, for one thing. But what I realized is that more and more restaurants and stores are trying to have things that I would like to eat available, which I think is relatively new. I've talked to a few people that have been on a plant-based diet for, let's say, 20 years, and they think it's funny how not funny, but it was difficult for them back in the day, where now it's kind of almost a little, probably more popular for people to try different types of eating. And so you've got the restaurants coming up with ways to be gluten-free and this kind of free and that kind of free. So it's not so odd to say, well, do you have something that is plant-based? And they can come up with that, and it doesn't have to just be a salad,
Mm-hmm. And was it hard at home too? Was it challenging to try to figure out what to cook and what to make for Dad? And how did that whole thing work?
Yeah, well, that was a little more challenging, although I must say he's been really supportive of the whole idea, especially when he saw that my health is improving. He saw me go from having to take medications for my heart to now I'm taking nothing.
Wow, you're on nothing now?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were down to 0.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, proof in the pudding a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he still, he still eats things that I don't eat, but he's very willing. And if you make things taste good, when you really think about it, we always built everything around meat, and it doesn't have to be. Mm-hmm. There's so many other good things that you can eat. There's actually a lot of things that you can eat.
How did you find those things when you started out? I mean, where did you go from blank slate to having pretty much your entire repertoire be whole plant foods with no meat, dairy, no eggs, cheese, chicken, fish? To some people that sounds really restrictive and like there's nothing left, and they think I could never do that. That's impossible.
Well, it's been kind of fun for me because actually you were interested when you saw what I was doing, and so we've had this sort of journey of, looking through all kinds of cookbooks, and there's sites online, and finding out who's really got the good recipes. And so, that's been fun. Sometimes it's challenging. Let's see, how do I make a cake without eggs? But you learn little tips from other people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah. What I think is really fun too is that I know one of the misconceptions is that people who don't eat a lot of animal products. And I should clarify, I say whole food, plant-based when I'm talking to you, because we differentiate that from vegan. And vegan really speaks to what a person doesn't eat. So, especially ethical vegans, and whom we love, they don't eat any animal products very specifically because of the harm to the animals. And that says what they don't eat, but it doesn't say what they do eat. Whereas whole food plant-based is very focused on that we could eat vegan, but it could be all junk food like Oreos and Coke, which are vegan, but not healthy. But we're focusing on the whole plant foods, the stuff we are trying to eat.
I would just like to add another part to the question that you'd asked about, the journey of how to find out how to do all these things. And Lisa's sister, my daughter, has been vegan for ethical reasons for several years. And so she kind of introduced us a little bit also to other alternatives to eating, but with a different rationale, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But what's really nice is that those two parts have sort of intertwined, and it's a win-win.
Absolutely. So it's good for the body, good for the animals, and good for the planet. Because I think the statistics are staggering about how much water is used to produce an animal that we consume, because it's high up on the food chain. Mm-hmm. So to water the crops, to feed all the hay to that animal over the years, it's staggering compared to taking a shower, for example. It's just absolute orders of magnitude in terms of water burden on the planet. So there's kind of three things that are all complementary.
Yes.
You don't have to hurt one of the three in order to accomplish the other.
Right.
Another thing that I think is very surprising is that I'm now eating a lot more variety of things. So where it seems like this would be the most restrictive time in my life, as I'm trying to incorporate more plants, I'm actually forced to branch out and try tons of things. And it's like an exploration. You can go to the Asian market and try fruit and produce you've never seen before, different ethnic foods. It's really tons of variety, tons of variety.
I've found that to be fun too.
Yeah. You mentioned that going out to eat is one of the more challenging things. What are some, besides asking for what you want, you said it's more acceptable now and there are more things on the menu. What are some tips and tricks that you use to eat out as smoothly as possible?
Well, I look for side dishes. There's, a lot of the fancy restaurants have nice side dishes that are not meat. And so meat, or rice, potatoes, vegetables, pastas. Pasta is always a good possibility.
What have been other struggles, or has it been a straight up journey? Have there been setbacks? What can people expect if they are adopting this? And along those lines, would you recommend easing into it? Would you recommend going all out, jump in the deep end, cold turkey? What in your experience has been best?
For me, I think it's been best to just kind of jump in. But I also think there's value in taking things a little at a time. And one of the things that Dr. Greger said that I thought was really such a profound way to look at it, as far as helping you in the journey, is he was explaining that if you have a sore knee and you go out and you hit yourself in the knee 3 times a day, 7 days a week, the knee can't heal. Mm-hmm. So it would be sort of the same with your body, with your heart, let's say, or with your brain getting oxygen because of good blood flow, let's say. So if you're most of the time eating healthy and trying to eat a plant-based diet, so you go and you do other things sometimes. It's like you're bumping yourself in the knee once and you've got some time to sort of repair. So that kind of takes a little bit of the, I think, anxiety over making such a huge change a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. Just to know that it's all good, little things that you do. People do Meatless Monday, let's say, or whatever. It's all good because it's just giving your body a little extra shot of relief for the next time that maybe you're not able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Is it awkward in social situations when people notice that you're not eating meat, and do you get asked about it? How do you handle it? I know sometimes people have funny responses where they say, oh, now I feel guilty, I'm eating this in front of you, or you're so weird that you're doing that. How have those interactions socially been for you?
Has that happened to you? I sometimes find it a little tricky.
Well, yeah, so we're in book club together.
Yeah.
And the book club is made up of really sweet people. We meet once a month, and
who want to accommodate everyone.
That's what I was going to say. So we the host of the book club that month prepares a meal. And so we found ourselves in a situation where they feel like they need to accommodate us. And I don't want anyone to feel that way, because the last thing I want is this to be a burden on someone. And so I try to say, make what you're going to make, and I'll eat what I'm going to eat, and it'll be wonderful. The last thing I want is someone to have a headache. Right. But that can be, I do sometimes feel like by doing what I'm doing, which is not as committed as you are, Mom, but is incorporating more plants into my life, that it could by accident make the people around me feel like what they're doing is wrong, which is by no means what I'm shooting for.
Well, I think that one of the things, and Lisa's very good about this, is expressing that very fact, that you don't want people to feel like they have to accommodate you. Yeah. Is really nice, because there is sort of an unsaid thing. People make assumptions or maybe feel, oh geez, but just by putting it out there that honestly, I'm not trying to make it difficult for you. I'm just trying to do what I know is best for me And I don't want you to feel obligated in any way. I think that's really important. And I might add a side note, though, that in book club, probably about half of the group now really enjoys what we what we like to eat. So
That's true.
I think it has some positives there.
What do you do when people say, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that," or "Oh my gosh, where do you get your protein?" or "That's so bad for you," and things that you have learned are not the case for you? How do you respond to that? Do you share a different point of view? Do you let it go? What's your strategy?
I try to share a different perspective, but do it in a way that maybe I would quote, for instance, Dr. Greger, that it's really, I believe and he believes that it's not necessary to have the amount of protein that we think, or that we can't get it from somewhere else, and that's just, a different perspective. So I think it's really important not to have other people feel like they're obligated in some way to do the same thing that I'm doing. That's really important to me. Like I would feel bad if I would like to be an example that would be helpful, but not one that's sort of dogmatic about how things should be.
Religious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what have your results been? And how long has it been? What's the trajectory been like, and where are you now in terms of results?
It's been a really good journey, and it feels real natural now. At first, it took a lot of effort to think of how I was going to do things and how I was going to cook, what I was going to eat when I went out, and now it's just become part of my life, which I'm so thankful for, and I feel like I have an opportunity to share if people are interested, because I do feel like it has changed my life to be using food more as medicine, and comfort. They always talk about comfort foods. Well, comfort foods don't have to be negative foods or foods that aren't good for you. There's a lot of comfort foods that taste really, really good, and they supply your body with everything it needs. So
how long has it been now?
It'll be 2 years in June.
2 years in June. And has it, what results have you seen?
Well, I've lost a considerable amount of weight, and even more than losing weight, I just feel better. I don't feel so kind of sluggish as I had before, which obviously having the stent put in my heart was was a positive part of that. But I intend to have it stay that way, and I feel like I have the ability to do that now.
And your labs wouldn't be affected by having the stent in your heart. The blood work and the cholesterol, how have those been doing?
The doctor was surprised this past time when I had my physical for the year, because I'm not taking anything, but I'm getting the same positive results as if I were taking all those medications. So
wow.
Yeah, so that's...
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for introducing me to it, and then the ripples that have spread.
Yeah,
all the people that we have a kind of a community now that are all excited and doing this together, trying to be healthy together and sharing recipes. And sometimes when someone makes a batch of soup, we make extra and share it and stuff. And
yeah,
gosh, it's fun to share the journey, especially with your mom. So, and let me see, what are a couple go-to things if someone wanted to start tomorrow? What would you say? First, do this. Second, do this. Third, do this.
Oh, get lots of greens. Lots of greens. It's fun to make soups and things because you can kind of just throw all different kinds of vegetables in there and spice it up the way you like. And I would say take foods that you enjoy and just tweak them a bit. Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody that likes Mexican food or Italian food, you can do it without having meat in there. So, or cheese. There's a lot of alternatives. Doesn't sound like it would be so, but there are. And your taste buds also change a bit to where you actually, I believe I enjoy food more now than I did before, and also without the guilt.
Yeah, it's so true. Your palate habituates. It's a scientific principle. I'll actually put a link to articles about that as well, because it's very interesting how our frame of reference changes. And then after not having a lot of sugar and fat and things that are the hyper palatable, is that how you say that word? Hyper palatable foods that are highly processed. After a while, man, a mango is the most delicious thing in the world. It's like this burst of flavor, and you're sensitive to it.
But you wouldn't have noticed it if you'd just eaten a candy bar.
Exactly, but it happens really fast, right? It's amazing how our bodies adapt that so quickly.
Right.
It's really cool. I want to ask you about supplementation, and I also want to point out that we're not doctors, we're not nutritionists, we're not dietitians. We have no credentials whatsoever. We just have our experience. And that's worth a lot. Your experience is worth the world to me. But we are not giving guidance here. I think that's really important. And you heard that my mom had to change, or got to change, her medications shortly after starting a whole food plant-based diet. So it's not a good idea to make a radical change in nutrition without consulting your physician, because if you're taking medications you no longer need, things could be out of whack. So you need to have that coordinated. Absolutely. And also we want you to be safe. We're not experts, just sharing our joy in the whole food plant-based journey. But check it out with your doctor. There's also, I'm going to link up to yet another thing in the description, which is going to be how to find a physician who's aligned with this philosophy, if it's of interest to you, but that can support you under good medical care. But what supplements do you take as part of this lifestyle? I know that one of the philosophies is that the best way to get nutrients is in the foods where the complete thing is there, not extracted. Right. Does that mean that you don't take vitamins any longer?
B12 is the most important supplement you can take as a person not eating meat and dairy. And that's because when you're not eating meat and dairy, you're not picking up some of the dirt and feces that's actually found in those two products. I know that sounds gross, but there is a little bit of that in those. And the B12, and it's water soluble, so you can't end up taking too much, but a B12 supplement supplies you with that. So that's probably the main one that's recommended if you're not eating meat and dairy. And then the other one that I take is D. So that's about it, really.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. This is the most fun ever to get to sit and talk with you, and for being willing to share something that is really deeply personal as what's happened in your life with your medical history and what you're doing with your diet. I think it's so fun to be talking to you, and I really hope that it helps you guys to hear one person's experience and to be encouraged by it, and maybe to make little changes, whether it's adding in a little bit more kale or going all the way toward a whole food plant-based diet and nothing else. So wherever you are in your journey of health, we really, really wish you well. And we are here to support you. We're so excited about what's going on in our lives and the progress that if we can be a support in any way possible, we want you to reach out to us. Email me at crownpointersemail@gmail.com. That is a tongue twister. But email me or message me, and I can get you a resource I compiled, which is a whole bunch of resources. It's got apps, it's got books, it's got YouTube channels that have whole food plant-based cooking shows. It's just a guide to starting out on a whole food plant-based journey that I compiled because when we started, I really was overwhelmed. There's so much information out there. It's hard to sort it all out. And I want to make it easier. We want to make it easier for you guys and kind of have it culled down and all in one place. So I want to be happy to share that with you if you want it.
And I would like to say that I'm really honored to be able to participate in this interview. I'm very touched that Lisa would want to have me share.
Aw, thank you.
And I
love
really
you so much.
Oh, I really appreciate it. And to think that maybe it would be a little bit helpful to someone is really a nice thing. So thank you.
Awesome. If you have any pointers of things that could help us and can help other people who might be watching this video, we'd love in the comments section for you to share with us what you do to be healthier, and we'll be checking that out and trying out your suggestions as well. And then while you're down there, I'm going to have the links, all the links we talked about in this video, and you can hit the subscribe plus the bell. That's YouTube's formula to subscribe and be notified every week when we upload a new video. Crown Pointers is your source for tips, tricks, and pointers from the practical to the really profound for the adventure of everyday life. From both of us, thank you so much for joining us.